Hello, welcome back to the game. I'm finally making a gameplay video again, and I'm pretty damn excited because what this is going to be over the next few weeks, or it could actually take quite a while. We'll see. Overclock showcases / reviews for the new Overclocks introduced in season 5. Starting with double barrel. Is it double barrel? It's not called double barrel. That's something else. It's just a broomstick. Starting with pump action for the Warthog. I don't know exactly what order I'm going to go in. That's not too important today. We are just focusing on this one overclock. And basically, my goal is going to be to show you the two most different but still good builds that I can conceive for every given overclock. And what I mean by that is there's only going to be 2 missions shown in each video, and the build using each one will be as drastically different as possible. Now, fair few of these overclocks, I'd say these overclocks are actually a pretty decent split of being quite static or being extremely malleable. Pump action is one that definitely lies in being a bit more static. There is some flexibility. The builds you're going to be seeing are a little bit different. The thing I'm worried about is mortar rounds, because I can't conceive of any way apart from just one way to build mortar rounds. But pump action, I have been able to conceive of at least 2, and I will be showing them off. Well, I mean, here they are, just preemptively. So these are the builds I'm going to be showing you today. This one and this one. So, so we'll do the first one first, and then this one will be second, and that will be that. And I do want to, before we start, sort of give some thoughts on certain things in regards to these overclocks. Also, actually, I think I'll do that once I actually start. So, in terms of the missions and how we're going to be constructing this, I wanted to make sure I had a consistent basis for which to test them. And the way to do that, I've realised, was actually Hazard 5+. And I do want this to become a standard of any gameplay videos I do in the future, where it comes to testing or showcasing builds, is these modifiers. Now, I guess I should explain these modifiers. So we have one factor of both more enemies and player vulnerability. Now, these two things are a bit weird together, I would say, but really more enemies comes down to the fact that I think a good build should be able to handle more enemies, because it's kind of reflective of a situation where maybe you are the last one alive in a team scenario. And that's kind of what it comes down to. It's also just fun. Player vulnerability, however, is really just to speak to the safety, basically. The safety that a build should be able to ensure. A good build should be able to keep you safe and keep you going in most given scenarios. And I think adding on player vulnerability is a good way to gauge how good it really is. Like, if you don't go down at all, even with player vulnerability turned up to 1 or even 2, then you know you've got a pretty safe build. So I figured they were decent parameters to have on for every mission. Of course, something like Elimination is going to be a bit fuzzy. Obviously, vulnerability will play into this, of course, but obviously a Dreadnought is just a Dreadnought. Even if it's the twins, it's still just going to be one fight. But nevertheless, let's just focus on pump action. So pump action is the new overclock that was given to the Warthog, which is a lovely little weapon that I do think is, not perfect, but feels pretty great. And pump action sort of doubles down on that feel while really reprimanding you for it. Pump action adds a huge increase to damage and pellets, and also adds blow through, a factor of 1. You can pierce up to 1 enemy per pellet. Reduced magazine ammo capacity by quite a lot, although the ammo is much greater. Yeah, the magazine penalty is quite small, especially if you take one. And it's slow rate of fire. So the penalties here are sort of are negligible aside from the ammo capacity, but it does win out in terms of damage output. I believe, in fact, that it is the highest total damage possible is with pump action. I think that's right. I think the only other way, yeah, I thought so. If you take lightweight cases with damage, it's yeah, it's still not even that close, really. Yeah, so pump action is the way to get the highest total damage on the Warthog, and the reason why that's so good is because total damage always sounds good. In fact, mini shells might actually have higher total damage, but mini shells is so hard to actually output that, to actually use all that ammo, all of that damage, actually get it out in a reasonable amount of time. Pump action, not only does it give us the highest total base damage, the highest total damage possible for Warthog build, it also has the least ammo, which means it's the highest damage per shot, but also the highest total damage, which is a very attractive prospect. The ammo is mainly a problem because of engineered secondaries, which is why this is the more demanding one. So we're going to be using the Shard Diffractor. The Shard Diffractor is a great crutch for primary builds for engineer, where the primary doesn't have much ammo. The Shard Diffractor has such a high amount of ammo and is so flexible what it can do with that large ammo pool. Therefore, we can build our Warthog to be quite one note. In this case, it is very one note. It is a single target, close range destroyer, and it is built to match that. So you might be wondering, why turret whip? Well, this is also a bit more of a precise, which is why you might be wondering, why aren't you taking choke? But this is a bit more of a precise, measured version. This isn't like cycle overload or anything. This is like we're going to be carefully placing shots. And turret whip kind of ensures that, because it means our rate of fire is kind of held back a bit. It's not automatic, which is actually good for the amount of ammo we have, and it still gives us the ability to have a pretty powerful explosive effect from our turrets if we want to. But aside from that, fire rate in tier 1, fire rate in tier 1 is important only because we get to take magazine capacity here, and it's kind of weird that I haven't found a need for recoil, but I kind of just haven't. So that's that. Tier 4 is damage, and that actually doesn't change. So we got the damage upgrades in both tiers where that's applicable. Tier 2 and Tier 4, pellets and damage. Just to give us that highest possible. It's not actually the highest total damage possible in this version. The other version is, and I'll switch to that after the first mission. But this is still very high. This still ranks highly in terms of the total damage we can get for any given Warthog build, despite the fact that we only have a maximum ammo count of 67. So in my opinion, that's quite impressive, actually. So yeah, it's sort of close range, but still quite controlled destructive presence. Shard Diffractor, as our secondary, is pretty basic. This is a basic volatile impact reactor build. Volatile impact reactor can be built this way when we go for ammo, and we go for ammo, but also single target at the same time, so you kind of very efficiently destroy hordes of enemies, but still laser down any single targets if you need to. A good example is pretty much most Mactera, which pump action is not great against, so hopefully we'll be seeing some of that. Just a very powerful, all-purpose, high ammo secondary. Like, you really can't go wrong with it, and it really makes up for what pump action doesn't have. Everything else is kind of built a little bit haphazardly. You don't need to be too worried. It's my standard perk setup. I'm not really going to talk much about perks. This is really about the overclock that is the star of the show, which is, of course, pump action. So sentries you can build whoever you want, but I do encourage turret whip for this build, which is why you might want to take Gemini. Gemini with quick deploy is actually the best for turret whip, because it gives you that extra ammo that Gemini gives you, but you can still construct the turret very quickly. Shredders. Why shredders? Well, basically, I pick shredders because they're very good against everything. I'm going to try and not use them too much, but frankly, there's no real grenade synergy that I can like pinpoint with this, with pump action, so my instincts just driven me to the best and most flexible option, which is always going to be the shredders. So that keeps things relatively simple. Anyway, through the magic of editing, I'm actually going to put this video together. This section will be separate from the two missions, which will be their own segments, because that will allow me to fail, and therefore not show you a failed mission. Luckily, because it's summer, and I rely on daylight as my lighting source, I have lots of time. So if I do fail any missions, it's not a problem, but I don't want to show you any failed missions. Of course, if there are any, I don't think it should take too much away from what the overclock is capable of, especially given that I am utilising Hazard 5+ modifiers. Basically what it means is that I'm going to have to kind of just sweat, just really push myself, lock in, as one might say. But either way, this is an elimination, Hazard 5+, play vulnerability, and more enemies, +1. It should showcase the single target strength of pump action better than any other mission probably will. So, let's get into that through the power of editing. Okay, so here we go. Our first mission with the build number A. Number A. No. Anyway, so obviously I will be sort of skipping around a bit, sort of mainly trying to showcase combat, but I did want to put in a word before we properly start. It's kind of weird that my game chat is coming through. But before we properly start, just kind of about the new Overclocks in general, and sort of where people are at on them, because, you know, for example, Tyler, for example, really just not very receptive to them. It's probably the thing about Season 5 that he's just not really engaging with in a way that, personally, I would like him to, because we're going to have to talk about them at some point. But, you know, that is because they are quite mechanically, I guess, just off-kilter in a lot of ways. I would say most of them are, especially something like clustered munitions for the Hurricane, which is, like, really, really strong, but it's really weird. It's not very ergonomic or intuitive, but it kind of has to be that way to allow it to do what it does so well, which is the application of cluster missiles. But overall, the Overclocks, I think I'm satisfied. I think there are definitely some misses, and I will get into those, especially in a future video. I'm sort of planning, potentially, a video where I go through balance changes that I think need to be made. So some of the Overclocks are misses, but I would say for the most part they at least hit, or they at least provide something that is unique, and that uniqueness, that novelty, is at least worth using. In fact, I would say that applies to all of them. Like a miss, for example, would be Smart Trigger for the Smart Rifle, and the reason why it's a miss is because mainly because it doesn't provide any extra level of strength to the Smart Rifle, which is kind of what it needs. The Smart Rifle needs a base ammo buff, basically, is what it comes down to. And then Executioner and Explosive Chemical rounds should be adjusted to still be at the same level of max ammo they were before. That's kind of a balance change that kind of needs to happen, in my opinion. I think certain people, like Lazy maybe, would agree with me based on the opinions expressed in the long Overclock tier list he did with Waste. I think that might be a correct assessment. But it's still worth trying for its mechanical novelty of being like an automatic Smart Rifle. That's not something that should be completely ignored, and it's also not terrible either. It just kind of highlights some issues with the Smart Rifle, and why an Overclock that doesn't outwardly add more damage to it is kind of falls flat. Look at this Trigger, and this is why I like pump action. The fact that it can do stuff like that is really nice, and it's pump action is very limiting in terms of like ammo and how you kind of go to secondary, especially if you're doubling down on damage like this. But so far, it's becoming a very favourable Warthog Overclock for me. I'm finding it extremely pleasant to use despite its limitations, and its like strength is just not lost to me at all. And look at this, I love this. Great. This should still work. Yep. Like, this is Shard Refractor territory.
Don't let him flank you.
There we go. Okay. Guard is kind of both, although I kind of messed that up there. Both in Victorian, we can absolutely use the Shard Refractor a little bit of Victorian. Supplementary damage, that should kill it. Very nice, very efficient.
Victorian. What's the gap?
Bomber. I mean, if I don't miss, very, very impressive damage output. In fact, I'm actually more impressed than I thought I'd be, because the last time that I used this version of it specifically, the like double down on damage version, I think I had enemy toughness turned up a little bit, which kind of enemy toughness I found to be the most jarring factor to manipulate on Hazard 5 Plus, because it's so quickly fucks with your expectations of how quick an enemy is going to go down. And that applies to the Dreadnoughts as well. So I'm expecting to be... I was already fine with how well it was doing against the Dreadnoughts, but I expect to be even more impressed this time. As you can see, we've already probably used more like ammo proportionally on the pump action on the Warthog compared to the Shard Refractor, but that's not that strange. Okay, I don't know what I did there. It worked.
I got the shell back.
Things about Shellback is it would probably be killing it would probably feel very good if we had armor breaking on, and I've been considering actually switching to armor breaking on the Shard Diffractor, although I didn't really have time to test that. But it would feel great on the pump action. But the thing is, we really need to be pushing with such a harsh ammo penalty. If we are doubling down on damage, we need to double down on damage. And I know that armor breaking is its own form of damage, but when you say doubling down, I really mean tripling down, because we're factoring weak points as well. And if we're not maximizing the amount of damage we can do to a weak point, then we're not really maximizing the amount of damage we can do.
Come and get me, you disgusting one. One sentry gun ready to
So I haven't really been using turrets enough, I'd say, as well. Okay, there's I can feel the player vulnerability kicking in a little bit. Okay. Obviously, this place is kind of ruined as an arena by the fire. Jesus. I actually think this this tunnel, this sort of wide tunnel here, would be a better arena than that room. So we're going to use this, I think, for the actual fight. I don't really have a preference for Dreadnoughts. I would say I'm not a big fan of twins with something like this, where we have a weapon that sort of relies on weak points to do its best damage. I mean, I would say it definitely does, actually. Can only hope. Anyway, I guess I'm going to have to trigger this. I don't really want to have to go all the way through, but I might have to. Alright, hold on. I'm going to spawn this Dreadnought. Twins. Oh, normal Dreadnought. Big fan of that. Okay.
go.
Let's try to do some work. So, I guess the question would be if I have a favourite new Overclock so
Just
far.
take your sweet time, old lady.
And the
My
answer is, I
final
don't
day.
think I actually do. I really like Scorching Tide for the Flamethrower though. I think that's definitely my favourite Flamethrower Overclock now. But the thing is, what has to happen is I really haven't used Gunner's ones enough. And I have used Mortar Rounds a fair bit. Mortar Rounds is definitely the least interesting of Gunners. I can see myself, after my experiences with Cluster Munitions being a little bit fuzzy, where it started off kind of rough, but as soon as I had a good experience with Cluster Munitions, I immediately realised I could potentially like that Overclock a lot. Did you see that? 3 shots brought the segment down. That's crazy. But I guess I probably should try and use the pump action in the shield as well. Okay, that's quick, but I still bring the range. That's actually really impressive. Okay. Keep in mind this is solo. But you know, change too much.
I needed that.
I would also say very efficient. Like, honestly, we used a bit of ammo beforehand, but I would say you're not even going to be using, probably be using like a third of your ammo at most on the Dreadnought if you're playing it like this, where you only use it against the vulnerable state. And a third is probably overestimating it, actually. You should end up using it.
Reloading.
I mean, come on.
We got it.
Come on.
Going proud.
This is the kind of thing that makes me, if I were to somehow fail this mission, it would make me not want to exclude it still. I would probably still want to keep it in because that just felt so good. And I felt like that looked like it felt good. Okay. Oh, hi.
I got the ass. Get all thank you later. Meet your maker, Drake.
Right, this shell back I kind of want to use that. You can start to shoot. That's quite
Not rolling
deadly.
so much now,
I think
are ya?
with armor breaking, shooting a shell back with this thing could probably feel really good. But that's not going to happen today. Anyway, unless we get like hit by a big, well, actually, a big horde of enemies isn't really a good showcase for pump action. But if we come across any particular priority targets, I'll be sure to show you that. But I think we're mainly going to skip to the next Dreadnought now. Let's get to that. Okay, so how about a Mactera grabber? Let's see if I can actually hit the weak point. I did, and that was really good. Very nice ammo efficient kill. Shredders, I'll sort of show off with I want to try and show a pretty clean Praetorian kill. In fact, I might try and kill Praetorian just with pump action. Okay, it's gonna get hit by the fire. I don't know what fucking. So, more damage now. Oh, especially from that fire. Oh. Okay, I need to get to the next room so I can resupply. Okay, they weren't lying about sort of the medium range in which you can like pretty easily kill grunts. I haven't been disappointed by that so far. But get off the fire. Right, let's go through here, find some health, find the next Dreadnought. Run into a slight hiccup. An omen, which is awesome, by the way. Even if it kills me.
Roger that. Supplies are coming.
How close is Alvadron?
Booting up the machine.
Okay, I thought about maybe using this arena, but this is this Omen arena is for the Omen. Turns out. What we got? Okay, good. No drones.
I'm taking some of the ammo. Oh yeah.
Well, I still might take out the heavy burster first. What the? You lot go away.
Ready to begin.
Whoa! Shredders, because the shards the Shredders won't target the Omen anyway. So. Shit! I'm gonna. Oh, I knew it! I knew I was gonna go down there. There's just no movement, man. I mean, I'm not sure.
Saved by a machine.
It looks like the enemy aggressiveness is on or something. I mean, I know it's not. There we go, my first down. Yeah. So that's nice. Anyway, no, actually, no, I will go for the plasma first. Okay. I mean, nothing like the last Omen I did on recording. Speaking of which, that last Scout build showcase was recorded ages ago. I can't remember when, but it was a long time ago. I probably have deleted the recording though, so I probably couldn't find out. Earliest though was the end of May that was recorded, so that was the last time that I recorded something in game. And it was a beautiful.
Look at it go!
That burst looking at me already. Oh, but it will be soon. So I'm going to have to move. Okay, I forgot about player vulnerability. Straight up. I remembered that it was a thing when it started shooting me. Okay, that was pretty quick. I'm going to try and get the burster now. Right, that's the twin slicer. Which the twin slicer, the Warp should be able to completely eviscerate. There we go. But yeah, not particularly impressive that I let myself go down there. I didn't have to, I just got greedy, you know? Okay,
We did it.
there we go. Not too bad.
Nicely done, team. The current
And I don't
finger
think the
is
strength of
primed
pump
and
action
ready.
was lost there. Although, I guess something that I was kind of expecting from pump action was that it would be quite good at close range. And it's not that it isn't, but it's not exactly going to keep you safe either. Which maybe that was an unfair expectation. I don't know. I feel like I do often have unfair expectations, although I'm pretty good at like not being disappointed when they are, you know, disproven or not met, I suppose. Either way, that was worth showing, but I think we're going to stick with... Oh my god! This is a turret situation.
Ready to be filled. Sentry's done. Go get him, boy.
Oh! I've gotten worse at dodging triangles, I'm pretty sure.
Thanks, Moscow. Jaw dropping.
Okay, well, we got one life now,
Reload.
so
Got an egg.
I've kind of realised something about,
Never felt
you know,
better.
not showing failed missions, in that I don't want to...
Ollie, over here.
I don't want to lose the commentary, so if I die, this is still going in. Okay, maybe I can make this Praetorian kill a bit cleaner. In fact, it's going to be so clean that I'm not going to let Warthog get involved. You need to start breathing at me. This doesn't work if you don't do that. And every time... So there's something about Praetorians. There's some kind of wizardry that they like impose upon the world, where it basically just seems impossible to not get hit by their breath. Am I crazy? It genuinely feels impossible.
I actually think we're gonna like it.
I know it's not. I'm not like that stupid, but it feels like it.
I smell bacon. I mean
I
that.
just want to know if other people feel the same way, because like it just seems so unavoidable. Crazy.
Come here.
It feels like even though they do it, you know, the spray goes from side to side, it feels like it's just a big cone. I feel like that's something that is happening. It doesn't feel that truthful. What's being shown by the game.
Ammo taken.
I suppose I could actually use this room, like the Dreadnought. Closer than I realised.
Platform. My fleet.
Twins? Yep, twins. I mean, look. No, I would have preferred the Hive Guard, actually. To be honest. I know that. But, oh, Jesus.
My boots. My poor boots. Sentry gun needs assembly.
So this is going to be interesting because, let's be honest, I'm probably not going to be able to use action to get the stuff. Are they?
One platform. Ready to
The brain.
Sentry off.
Unless it goes in the floor like that. Okay, so far, we've done a good amount of damage very quickly. Not bad at all. Let's go, we just want to make sure we know exactly what it is.
Reloading.
I knew that would kill me, but I just thought I'd just keep moving and I'll be all right. Anyway, I think the damage was still proven there. I am not sold on this player vulnerability thing. I think it's pretty clear that I would have probably done fine if it wasn't for that. So I think it's going to come off because I feel like the only thing that's going to change is that I will die less. And I feel like that sounds obvious, but what I actually mean is the only difference that player vulnerability is going to make is just going to make me fail where I probably would have succeeded.
Oh man.
And that was the promotion mission, and I do want to do that, but unfortunately, I don't think doing the same mission type is wise if we're going to be switching the build. Especially because it's quite a different version of it. The other thing is a duck and cover, but the thing is, I'm not doing an escort duty. Actually, I guess that could be all right. That one. Or Ebonite Outbreak, which is kind of... No, Ebonite Outbreak's actually probably really bad for builds, when I think about it, because it's like, But the thing is, that's duck and cover, which sucks. Maybe Parasite's egg hunt. I feel like Ebonite Outbreak's probably not good for showing off builds, because it's like, you know, kind of weird. It kind of buffs you, and the enemies that are added, you can't really... It's not like you use your weapons against them anyway. So the other build... Well, okay, so the real question is if I'm going to use armor breaking or not, because I thought about it. So the other build is more of a generalist concept, where both weapons are kind of built for, like, relatively every scenario. So Warthog is taken... more ammo, so we just have more ammo to work with, and rate of fire, so that in like a swarm scenario we can kind of just pump out bullets pretty easily. Breach cutter, because I don't really use the breach cutter enough, to be honest, and lightweight cases is of course great, but I want it to be sort of a very good generalist thing that can sort of, it can hurt tanky enemies quite well, it can cleave through swarms, it can also handle tiny enemies with plasma trail. This to me seems a relatively comprehensive setup to achieve that. Whether or not I want armor breaking, because the reason why I might is because it means that you don't have to worry about where you're hitting an enemy, but I still want that damage. So this is the other pump action build. Chances are we are going to win this mission because I don't have player vulnerability on, but if I somehow lose, you have permission to unsubscribe. Yes. I would also like to say, I think, the stubby overclocks are in a weird position, because obviously the stubby's got 2 overclocks, you know? It got Hyper Alloy Assembly and Microconductor add-on, but Microconductor add-on is of course a rework of Turret Arc, but it's also the better one of the two. Microconductor add-on is really strong, and Hyper Alloy Assembly is just okay. So that's like almost disappointing. The stubby is actually kind of saved by Turret Arc, you know, Hyper Alloy Assembly, I suppose. That guy just got saved by his armor. Why?
Egg collection time, team. Alien eggs. Don't ask why. Find them, store them in Molly, and return. Simple.
But yeah, I mean, this is a build that I really only started using yesterday, and I've been quite happy with it, I must say. It's just kind of felt good, and I really haven't used the breach cutter in a standard fashion before. In a while, I've kind of really just been on this Inferno and Spinning Death like train for months now. I haven't really used a basic breach cutter build in a very long time, and it feels good actually. Not that there's not many basic breach cutter builds anymore though, especially after they just in my opinion they nerfed roll control, and I know it's probably controversial, but I think it used to be better and it was really slept on. One of the few balance changes where it's actually made the game worse, even in a very minuscule fashion. It's just made one really, you know, obscure clean overclock a bit worse for me, but still, it's like one of the only examples of a balance change where I just haven't aligned with it really. Which can happen, but it'd be nice if it didn't. And obviously, it's interesting, isn't it? Because stuff that you probably really like is probably being slept on by most people. And for me, that is that was roll control. There's also ultramagnetic coils, which I just can't say for some reason. for the coil gun, because that I genuinely think it's like beyond broken and overpowered, and no one talks about it, which I find funny actually.
Molly! I think we're actually doing all right so far.
Yeah. I mean, the coil gun is such a strange weapon, you know, whether or not it's actually good or not. I think it definitely is, because that's such a strong overclock, and Hellfire and triple tech chambers are also good, and even backfeeding module and the Mole are both decent overclocks now. I mean, the Mole has been for a while actually. There.
Shredder's out. Platform up.
Oh, go. Okay.
Music to my ears.
Show yourself, Bean.
Prolific, stop her down.
Been trained by Halo
Help me
to
mind
see
this.
through that shitty camouflage, which I always loved, like, especially in Halo Reach, where I actually liked the loadouts in Halo Reach, where you could pick because really all it came down to was picking an armor effect to start with, an armor ability, and I always picked active camo because I could use it pretty well for some reason, and I could always see it from other people. I was never tricked by it. I always saw it when other people were using it, but for some reason no one ever saw me using it. Okay. I mean, we will get enemies from that.
Meet Jamaica Drake.
The present now, presents are interesting, but they're also not, because certain things, a lot of weapons that use non-traditional damage types are bad against suppressors, but Warthog is straight direct damage. And of course, Molly somehow sits in the I actually can't believe how often Molly gets in the way of shit that just doesn't, like, it doesn't make sense why that, like, so often pushing you into danger and whatnot. Like, it's really, it feels so deliberate. Really impressive, actually. Even if it's an accident, which I'm assuming it is, it's still impressive. What a bitch.
Sentry on. Suck on this, you crazy gangster. I spit on your ring, spitter.
I don't know if there's anything going on in this region. Extra.
Go.
But
Get to
I have
work.
found this bridge cutter and the pump action to be just delectable combos.
Reloading.
They just work so nicely together, which is nice, you know. I am a big fan of synergies that aren't synergies, you know. Synergies that they're not born out of actual direct combos. They're just born out of two things complementing each other in ways that aren't even necessarily direct, but are still very much so impactful. And this is one of them. I really like that kind of thing.
Be gone. No more room. Oh,
What? Oh,
platform.
I was kind of expecting it.
Make another pop.
Anyway.
Sentry gun needs
Dreadnoughts.
assembling.
Too hard?
Sentry gun. Go get him, boy.
And yes, I am basically entirely relying on
Go.
turrets to kill
Get to
tiny
work.
enemies, which is fine. I think people, you know, if you've been through similar phases of engineer gaming like me, you probably run into the conundrum of feeling like you're not good enough against tiny enemies,
Bunker up, team. Swarm
listen,
incoming.
the turrets are your third weapon, and they are really good against tiny enemies. Do not be ashamed of using them as the crutch for that. It's why I've gotten more comfortable not using the Shard Diffractor. The Shard Diffractor felt like such a crutch for so long against tiny enemies, but then you realise you already have that. It's called turrets. As long as you take quick deploy, you can use them against tiny enemies very easily. So don't be ashamed. Be who you are. Your mistakes, okay?
Reloading.
Same with that one. They've just been bringing me in for the kill. It's fun.
Moscow, come here.
So, what's the verdict here though? Which one of these builds is better? Well, you know, my heart tells me this one, but the other one kind of got an unfair go. It was doing very well against it when it came down to it. So I would say both. I think it's actually very fair to build pump action with the main ways, which is, you know, flexible or double down damage. It's DDD. Both are perfectly valid. In fact, I kind of prefer the feel of the Warthog when you double down, but overall I think I prefer the feel of this build, this overall loadout. But I wouldn't, personally I would struggle to use it without the Shard Diffractor, the other version. But I still kind of prefer how it felt in terms of like really cleanly one-shotting things like Tri-Jaws and other stuff, and how quickly it was killing like Goo Bombers. It's doing noticeably better against Goo Bombers, I think, and Praetorians. So really it's up to you, but I would still recommend applying the same principles. If you want to double down on the damage, you kind of need probably use a Shard Diffractor to back up your ammo supply. I definitely don't think that holds true. I mean, because especially doubling down damage actually makes it a lot better at range. If you happen to be using it at range. Obviously it's more precarious because you have even less ammo, but it is going to be more reliable than this version at range. Well, I do like the rate of fire actually. The rate of fire feels pretty good.
Access provided.
Right, let's just blitz this. I don't even really care about the fossils, I don't think.
Brundle down. Shredder swarm deployed.
Oh, there's a stick drift, look at that. Actually, my first time really experiencing stick drift has been recently. Kind of just started. The controller sort of just drifts. The left stick kind of just drifts forward.
Grabbing ammo.
Also, I am shrouded in darkness. Big difference. Not really. I think my breach it does have max ammo 21. Also, this is a cool feature. Hover over the actual weapon in the equipment terminal. You can see the numbers.
Oh. You want something done right? You gotta do it yourself. Platform right.
Fudge.
Go! Get to work! I made a platform. Access provided.
Whoa!
Relax! I took out the cave leech.
Alright, this is a I think, yeah, this is the kind of place that I like to fight forms in. Okay. Good timing.
Sentry gun needs assembling.
Kind of.
It's armed and ready. One sentry gun ready to be built.
Rain,
Help me mine this.
boring.
Molly's on the way.
Good luck. Oscar.
Collection completed. Well done. Call the escape
Right.
in when ready.
Here we go. Last swarm of the video.
Contact. 4, wait, 6, no, 12. A lot of aliens heading your way. Incoming. Smoke him if you got him.
Die, you sneaky
Very good. I'm actually going to try not to use Shredders with this.
Wait, there. That's what you get for melting my new boots. I hate nature.
Aliens petering out. Wipe out the
There's
rest
a bit of
and
a
get
wasted
on with
shot
it.
there. That was one of the things that roll control was good at, so you could just basically create a tunnel with plasma that would kill shockers very well. And well, actually, you can kind of still do that. It's just it moving fast is a little bit weird. I don't know. Yeah, it was actually a very mild swarm.
Supply pod requisitioned. Launching now.
Platform.
But that kind of brings this to a close, I think. Pump action itself has been proven of being Overclock of a bit of a strength,
Everybody collect ammunition.
although its limitations are notable as well. I would say the main thing I've noticed about the Overclocks actually so far has been that the penalties have been quite frigid.
Platforms
It
placed.
feels like a lot of these Overclocks were made
Where is that damn?
with a little bit of paranoia about them being too strong. So they were kind of like, let's make sure the penalties are felt. But let's be honest, a lot of the best Overclocks, something like Big Bertha, for example, it essentially doesn't have any drawbacks. But like then you look at something like, you know, the new funded Overclock, mortar rounds, extremely powerful, but the drawbacks are insane. I feel like there's a lot of that going on. So pump action is one of those. It's very strong, but the drawbacks are also very noticeable. Which culminates in a pretty healthy Overclock, I think, where it's like it's easy to build well for it. In fact, I'd say quite easy, but it's also very easy to fall in the trap of having a very non-flexible build if you ignore ammo economy as a factor is better. But it also doesn't feel like it's disrespecting the concept of ammo economy either.
Damn flares can need enough.
I would say overall, pump action is really good. It's a big approval
I'll never
myself.
get the smell out of my arm.
and it's quickly becoming. It's currently my favourite overclock to use in the Warthog. I mean, I am kind of beelining or just mainlining using the new overclocks to really basically get my opinion of them and also understand them and try and get as good with them as possible. Make these videos work.
The mule has been successfully retrieved.
Yeah,
Make it
I mean,
snappy
that's me in
teeth.
pump
The
action.
drop pod won't hang around forever.
Chair's starting to sink again. It is. Cool.
Extraction
So
commencing.
yeah, that's pump action. I think next time I'm just going to do some class and weapon order, which will actually result in microconductor add-on being last. As sort of the extra one to the side, which means next time we're going to be looking at rotary overdrive, which is an overclock that I like, but haven't been able to truly get to grips with yet. That's it. If you enjoyed this overclock showcase, then please make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to stay on top of everything to do with Deep Rock Galactic and Rogue Core, then of course click the bell as well. And if you're feeling extra generous and cool and sexy, then become a member as well to receive minimal benefits. Okay, it's time for me to finish this gunner assignment so I can use Rotary Overdrive more and make up my mind on it. Although I am actually going to be using, I think I'm going to be using Smart Trigger for this. I'm going to turn more enemies off. I haven't really got to Smart Trigger quite yet. Alright,
Mission selected.
see you next
Powering
time,
up the
guys.
drop pod.